Alright, so now let's take a look at the keyboard on the Motorola Droid 2. Now the keyboard on the Droid 2 is the same as on the Droid X because it has Motoblur's keyboard on it. So let's open up a new text message here. So once you open up the text messaging, you have your virtual keyboard that pops up right here. Now the multi-touch on this is pretty outstanding. If you can see, if I have my finger pressed on one button and I go here, then it picks it up really fast. Whereas on the original Droid, which I happen to have right up here, let me just get it off screen here. Don't want you to see the messages. And here we go. So now we have our virtual keyboard on the first Droid versus the keyboard on the Droid 2. So as you can see here, there's really no multi-touch. If I keep typing here, it's just going to keep on going. So yeah, so the keyboard on the Droid 2 is a definite upgrade from the first Droid. And you don't even have that, but you also have landscape, which gives you a lot of space to type if you wish. It's a little bit more wide, but you will get used to that. So now, basically, that's not going to be the main input of typing on the Droid 2. Now you're obviously also going to be using this new and upgraded keyboard that Motorola has put in. Now the keyboard does not light up, unfortunately. Maybe it does, I just can't see it light up. But it's so much easier to type up on this than on the first Droid. Sheree from WixGadget. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be a professional typer on this because this is not my phone. I haven't gotten used to this, but comparing this keyboard with the first Droid, you can see they've really done a good job at upgrading this. See, as you can see, they took out the D-pad over there, which was taking up way too much space. And instead, they've added these little arrow keys down here. Also, they've made some of these buttons a little bit more wider because they've managed to take out some of these blank buttons that you have here on the first Droid, so they fill that up. So basically the keys got wider and you have more space to type, and the keys are more elevated. So the keyboard on the Droid 2 has been a definite improvement, both physical keyboard wise and virtual keyboard wise.
So the multitasking on the Droid 2 has been updated. I think the reason for this is because the Droid 2 is running 2.2, unlike the Droid X, which is running 2.1. So off the top, we can see the Droid 2 now shows the top 8 apps that are running in your background, whereas the Droid X is only showing the top 6. So that's definitely been an improvement, and it does look kind of nicer. It says on the top recent, whereas on the Droid X it does not say anything. And over here, to open up a new app, you go to home. Let's say I want to open up email, and I hold home and it shows email right here. It shows that I'm opening up email right here. So the multitasking on this Droid 2 has been upgraded from the Droid X because of Android 2.2. And yeah, that's about it. So we're going to give a little quick review about multitasking on this, and we're going to compare it with Palm Pre multitasking. As you probably may or may not know, the Palm Pre is really good at multitasking. So here we go. So if I open up Facebook and I want to open up messaging, I just tap the gesture area to open up new applications. And if I want to open up web browser, that's what I do. And here you can see all your opened up applications, whereas on the Droid you can't really see what's going on in the background. So that's something WebOS is better than the Android in. But still, the multitasking has been improved from the Droid X and the original Droid, so that's definitely an improvement in the new Droid 2.
So now we're going to talk about a rather important factor on the Motorola Droid 2, the browser. So straight off the bat, the browser looks a little bit different from the Droid 1 because it has Motoblur running on top of it. So let's open up a new window here. So if you compare the browser with the first Droids, let's bring up the Droid. Let's go home. Let's open the browser. So here we go. So the browser, in terms of looking at the actual inside the browsers, is really not that different. Now you just have a little bit of upgrades here and there with terms of visualization, where the UI is a little bit better on Motoblur. But if you're looking at the basic browser, it's not really that much different from the regular Android devices. So let's take a look at the browser speeds really quick. Now over here, we're not getting that great 3G service. We're getting 1 bar here, so that, just take a note of that. So let's open up WixGadget here. Oops. .com. So WixGadget.com, and we are off. So once again, we have a little bit of a disadvantage when running the browser speeds over 3G, because the 3G reception here is not that great. So in terms of speeds, I guess you would get around the same speeds as you would with the Droid X or so, because just to remind you, they are running the same processors, so you will get the same performance with the Droid X, but you will get better in performance with the Droid 1, because the processor speeds are about twice as fast. So if we take a look at the WixGadget.com here, the non-mobile version, let's get that. Yes. So basically, the browser and on Motoblur, it is a little bit improved. The pinch to zoom is a little bit improved from the Droid 1, but I'd have to say it's not as responsive as the Droid X, which we will go over in our comparison video. So the pinch to zoom isn't all that perfected yet, but in terms of this browsing experience, rather than the original Android phones, it is better. Now let's take a look at the flash, which I know you've all been waiting for, because that is one of the main improvements in Android 2.2. It comes preloaded and compatible with flash. So let's open up our Windows. We already have the Verizon website here preloaded. So over here, as you can see, we are running a flash up here. Let me just go widescreen so that you can see that a little bit better. So down here, if you notice, you have these little tab bar buttons, which proves that flash is working, because it's moving around from screen to screen. If you click this, then it takes you to the link, which you probably would have done on the desktop version as well. So now let's just compare that little player there with the website on the first Droid. So now let's open up Verizon Wireless. So let's let that load there. So once again, I'm sorry for the 3G service down here. It's just that we had to be down here to get a look at the Droid 2. It's loading. And there it is. So it just shows an image on non-flash compatible phones. Whereas over here on the Droid 2, let's put that down there. So again, this lock button is a little bit hard to access. Down here you have that image, but you also have these interactive buttons down here, which goes from image to image, and it also does that automatically. So that proves that flash is working on the Droid 2, and on future Android devices once they get their Android 2.2 Froyo updates. Alright, so now let's take a look at the camera and the camcorder on the Motorola Droid 2. So now once we unlock this phone and we head into the camera app, so it is different than other Android devices, specifically the first Motorola Droid. So over here it shows you your location, which is pretty convenient, which proves to you that it is taking record your location. And then you have some of these effects here, which is pretty cool. Up here you have your scenes where you can choose your scene here in terms of where you are, because if you do macro or something, once you're shaking thing, for example, if I'm shaking this, I guess that. So we also have these effects here. We have these color differences up there, and we have flash, and we can also switch to the camcorder conveniently. So that's pretty much the camera. In terms of the specs and the quality, it is the same as the original Motorola Droid. It has a 5 megapixel camera on the back. Over there you can see 5 megapixels, and it does not record 720p high def video. So the camera, if you're more of a camera person and you want an upgrade from the first Droid, then I would say get the Droid X, because it has an 8 megapixel camera and it does record 720p high def video recording. So I guess we'll have to talk about that later on in our Droid X versus Droid 2 comparison, but the camera on the Droid 2 has been a disappointment. It has not been improved from the first Droid, which they should have improved. If they really wanted to make this a big improvement, then I'd say that they would have to improve that camera back there. So yeah, that was the camera. So basically guys, to summarize this review up, the Motorola Droid 2's main upgrade is the Froyo Android 2.2 software, which comes preloaded with. Now if you're looking at the software, the main upgrade is the flash and also this keyboard. This keyboard is actually probably one of the biggest upgrades. Sorry, my bad. The keyboard is much easier to type on than the first Motorola Droid. It just looks a little bit nicer. It has flash on it, which again comes with Android 2.2, so that's really not a big wow factor right now, because more and more devices are going to get that OTA update. But other than that, I guess just a simple Motoblur OS on top of it, but you can get the same experience on the Droid X, which we'll go over in our comparison video later on. But yeah, the Motorola Droid 2, if you're more of a physical keyboard button person, then I would highly recommend picking up this device. But if you're more of a big screen kind of guy and more virtual keyboard, then get the Droid X, which I don't want to get into more devices in this review. But yeah, so I'd highly recommend that you check this out in the Verizon store for yourself before you purchase this, because it really depends on the person and how you would really use this phone. So yeah, definitely check it out guys, and we highly recommend that you get this phone, and check out WixGadget.com because it is finally launched. So check out WixGadget, subscribe to us please, and yeah, that's basically it. So thanks for watching guys.